Chapter 11. Shintoko. 5:30 a.m. A dull thunk was heard as the car shuddered upon its collision with yet another body. A few vehicles lay scattered off the road and dead bodies littered across the street. "Watch it, Shizuka-san," exclaimed a teenage girl who wore a high school uniform and glasses adorning her face. She had vibrant pink hair which she mostly kept in two ponytails on either side of her head. "Ah, sorry, Saya-chan," mumbled the now tired Shizuka through a drawn-out yawn. She had blonde hair and brown eyes, and she was the eldest in the vehicle filled with high school students. They were accompanied by a newcomer, a child who appeared to be around 9 or 10 years old, with short pink hair and purple irises. "All right, let's run it one more time, my way," Hirano exclaimed, gearing up to sing his twisted version of the nursery rhyme for the little girl, but abruptly interjected midway through his song. "Hirano, you fat otaku, don't bastardize Mother Goose," Saya scolded, which jolted Hirano. Oh, my bad, Tagaki." Hirano sighed, feeling a tad down from being shouted at until the little girl reached out to comfort him. Takashi and the rest, who had been dozing off in the car, slowly began to wake up, bewildered by the sudden commotion. "Achan, what's going on?" It was Rei who mumbled through fatigue. Having just woken up, she rubbed her eyes in an effort to chase away her fatigue. She then looked over the two beside her. "Seems like you're having fun, Takashi." Now fully awake, Rei smirked and pointed out the other girl who had been asleep, half naked, on Takashi's lap. As the girl woke up, she rubbed her eyes, similar to what Rei had done. What?" Takashi blushed, flustered as he turned to face the scene. "Rise and shine, Siko. You're drooling by the way," Rei teased and leaned closer to Takashi. She clung to him as she commented on the mess the girl named Siko was in, which caused her to turn red with embarrassment. The girl in question had long straight hair. Her hair and eyes were similar in color, a shade of lilac that complemented her well. Takashi smiled sheepishly upon seeing Siko's flushed face, though that dimmed quickly. A vivid memory surged within him. "Is something on your mind, Takashi?" Rei asked. Seeing his sudden shift in demeanor, her concern was evident. "It's just, do you remember that thing we met at the gas station?" Takashi remembered the odd incident that led to encountering the strange creature. "Yeah. What about it? Did something happen?" Rei's expression turned serious. A touch of unease creeped in at the mention of the anomaly. Silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the sounds of the engine as the car drove forward. The dawn's light filtered through the window, casting a soft, golden hue over the occupants. All ears listened attentively, waiting for the teen to break the quietude with whatever news he had to share. "An incident occurred on the West Bridge a few hours ago. That thing, I'm not sure of its intentions, but I saw other humans held captive by it." Takashi recounted the scene he witnessed on TV before the news abruptly cut off, presumably to prevent panic. "Komuro is right. I saw it too. Bullets had no effect on it. There was some kind of field that glowed faintly when it was hit." Hirano chimed in. "Its actions weren't clear when I first saw it, but it didn't seem to attack us directly. Did it go berserk and lose control?" Rei pondered aloud. Despite the creature's initial non-aggressive behavior towards them, its actions elsewhere seemed to have caused chaos. "Since you mentioned that it isn't hostile, could you describe its appearance, or if it had any characteristics?" Saya raised a brow as she inquired. She leaned forward in her seat to piece together the unfolding mystery. It stood around 4 meters tall, with long limbs, charcoal-toned skin, a featureless face, humanoid but slender in body. "It seemed intelligent and well-mannered when I first encountered it," Takashi explained, leaving the rest to contemplate his words. "That's what I find hard to believe, Komuro. You also mentioned that there was a strange place that resembled a hypermarket. For all I know, that thing must have been some sort of mutation." Hirano expressed his skepticism, unwilling to accept the description of that place. "Smart move on its part. It must have manipulated you to bring it here. Once you two left, it probably pursued its own agenda. It's somewhat believable since you are that easy to fool." Saya sighed at how foolish Takashi had been to fall under its tricks. "You mentioned captives?" Siko probed. "Yes, 2 were held by its arm, and there was 1 on its back. That's the thing I don't understand." Takashi recalled the scenes on the TV. "Is that a friend of yours?" Ms. Shizuka interjected, observing the conversation from the car's rear-view mirror and slowed down the vehicle. "No, not a friend." Takashi sighed, wondering if she had been paying attention to the discussion. Then who's that? Does that not fit your description? She halted the car and pointed toward a towering figure in the distance. Takashi's widened eyes fixated on the figure in the distance, the very creature they had just discussed. It was as if merely speaking about it had summoned the strange being to their location. The rest mirrored his reaction as it steadily approached their way. Hirano readied his rifle, despite prior knowledge that bullets were ineffective against it. He'd fire if it came any closer to them. The others followed suit, preparing themselves in case the creature proved hostile. Wait, I know him. That's Adam, my classmate. The child they had saved pointed at the figure, revealing others in the distance walking alongside it. Wait, those were the ones held captive by it. Then, Takashi remained skeptical, questioning their earlier assumptions, observing who he thought were former captives walk alongside the creature. Can I go talk to him? It's been a while since we've talked. The girl hesitated, expressing concern for her classmate. Do you really know him? Alice-chan? Ms. Shizuka inquired, glancing back from the driver's seat. The girl named Alice nodded, prompting a tense silence. I'll go with her. Siko broke the silence and volunteered to accompany Alice to meet her friend. I'll come too, Takashi offered. I'm in as well, Ray chimed in. Is that how it's going to be? Takashi sighed, knowing Ray would object vehemently if asked to stay behind. He glanced towards the others. Are you two planning on tagging along? He checked with the others. I'm good. My specialty is long range, so if anything goes wrong, I've got your back. Hirano confidently gestured. Imaginary stars twinkled, indicating his reliance on his sharpshooting skills. I'll stay. I gotta make sure this idiot here doesn't screw up. Saya folded her arms, exasperated by the current scene displayed by Hirano. In about an hour or so, we will reach the academy, Toru announced as they neared the school. That reminds me, Toru, what are your plans after we find your Kasen? Akemi asked. I honestly don't know, Toru admitted, his gaze shifting toward Kazuhiro. If she's alive, we'll scout for a safe space. You mentioned that your door connects to multiple worlds. If so, then we might seek refuge in a peaceful one. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps approaching them paused their conversation. Adam, a girl, bursting with enthusiasm, sprinted toward Toru with her arms open wide, not having had the time to brace himself for the impact. Toru was toppled to the ground. Toru grunted and narrowed his eyes, surprised as he recognized her. Alice. Alice grinned at the mention of her name. To think we would meet again this soon. Takashi approached. Takashi. Kazuhiro echoed his name. He didn't think they would cross paths anytime soon. Then he must be the one who brought you to our world, Toru stated, though still pinned on the ground by the girl. Can I please stand now, Alice? He murmured, irked at the current position he was in. Oh, I'm sorry. Alice awkwardly giggled, sensing Toru's discomfort and offered a hasty apology as she helped him back up. Meanwhile, Akemi's emotions flared at the sight of an unexpected arrival. Of all the people I wished to drop dead, and yet here you are, still alive. Akemi bursted out. That's... Asahi averted his gaze from the manga, and was shocked to see the newcomer. He attempted to calm Akemi's rising anger, placing a hand on her shoulder. Akemi, noticing his grip halting her advance, irked her. Asahi, don't you remember what that bitch has done? That snobby shit deserves every pain given to her. That's enough, Akemi. Asahi stopped her by adding pressure to her shoulder. It's fine. Siko spoke, her head down, not willing to make eye contact. I understand your sister's rage. What I have done was an immature act on my part. Her tone had a hint of guilt in it. Busujima-san, it's fine. Asahi tried to console her. No, it isn't. I'll head back to the car. Siko informed the two before she turned on her heel and began walking away from them. Her pace was slow, as if each step had been weighed down by guilt. No one dared to stop her. Asahi pondered if he should reach out to her, but stopped and only sighed at the unexpected encounter. Those around had to watch the scene. They were unwilling to talk about what just happened since it only involved those three. I'll head back too, Ray said shyly, which was much unlike her nature. She was concerned about Siko and followed her lead, returning to the car. I apologize for the scene earlier. Asahi bowed towards Takashi. No. If only we knew better, then this would have been avoided. Takashi tried to wave it off. A memory triggered within Takashi, the reason why he chose to approach Kazuhiro. By the way, store clerk, why did you cause a scene earlier? The incident on the West Bridge, what was that about? It roused a lot of attention globally too. He was about to answer, but Toru explained their urgency in crossing the bridge instead. Had to get to our destination. The quickest route was the bridge. Toru answered in his monotone voice. HM? Where are you going? Dash. Alice got interjected by Toru correcting her. It's Toru, Alice, and we're heading to Shintoko. Toru clarified as he then glanced back towards the twins. Adam used to be my birth name. I chose to go by the name Toru. I hope that clears up any questions you may have about my identity. The twins only had to nod as they were about to ask about his name, only for it to be answered. Kazuhiro pondered whether this knack for anticipating their questions was Toru's specialty, a peculiar skill in foreseeing their inquiries. The academy? Mind if I join? Takashi's surprise at the mention of the school made him eager to come along. There's someone I know from there. I wasn't sure since it was a bit far, and a friend's house happens to be the closest. Takashi said his reasoning on why he wanted to come. What's your name? Toru inquired. It's Komuro Takashi. Embarrassed, he scratched his head for not introducing himself at first. Komuro, as in Komuro Yuko-sensei? She happened to be our math teacher this year. Toru guessed, connecting the dots, which made Takashi nod slowly in confirmation. I want to come too. Alice eagerly raised her hand, expressing her wish to join, but Takashi shook his head. No, that's not happening, Alice-chan. I know you'll be safer with everyone else. Takashi suggested, leaving Alice in a sulky mood. He then went over to guide her back to the car. You don't mind me tagging along, do you? He looked back. The more the merrier. Asahi shrugged with a smile, and no one objected after that. Before they journeyed toward the school, Takashi's group wasn't thrilled about him leaving them, but eventually, they complied and drove off to Takagi's estate, his other childhood friend's place. Breaking the silence, Asahi was partially engrossed in his reading and decided to engage in small talk. Komuro Takashi, right? What year are you in? He inquired as they made their way to the school. I'm in my second year. Since you guys know Busujima-san, I'm guessing you're in your third year. Takashi assumed. That's right, my dear Kohai. Asahi smirked, not often using the term since he rarely hung out with younger peers. So, do you guys know Dash trying to steer the conversation elsewhere? Takashi was interrupted, a familiar cycle with Toru's interjections. Know about the store? Yes, we were informed about it. Toru stated, holding onto Kazuhiro's back. This interruption made Asahi sigh, gaining a better understanding of Toru's character. All right, thanks. Takashi scratched his head as he was unable to finish his question. Both Kazuhiro and Akemi weren't bothered by it since Kazuhiro was familiar with Toru's tendency to interrupt others, including him, while Akemi didn't seem to mind it. She just found it endearing. HN. There it is, just a few blocks ahead. Toru nodded, spotting the school in the distance. Splat. Seriously, the more we approach, the more they appear, and goddamn they are fast runners. Asahi said, wiping the blood splattered onto his face as he smashed in a child's head with a metallic bat. The rest were now standing in front of the open gate, which was the entrance to the school grounds. A horde could be seen walking around the courtyard. They would be caught amidst the crowd if they were to walk all the way to the main entrance of the building. So how should we approach this? Surely we can't charge right through. We must find another way in. Akemi surveyed the haunting scene. Her heart wrenched at the sight of children once bubbling with joy and laughter now trudging, bloodied and aimless amongst the dead. Time isn't on our side. We can simply have Kazuhiro-san clear a path for us. Toru countered, his expression unyielding as he glanced at the children his age. There wasn't a speck of concern shown on his stoic expression. Ting! Kazuhiro pulled out the device to inspect the sound coming from it. XXXX. __mission. S. __. The last lullaby. Objectives. The front yard is flooded with the dead, and one of the ways to get in is to charge right through, slaughtering those in your way. Difficulty. Normal. Rewards. Black small square 500 SC. Black small square 10 AGI. Black small square 10 STA. Black small square 10 AP. Black small square minor decrease in favor with Akemi. Black small square minor increase in favor with Toru. Do you wish to accept the mission? Yes, no. A latecomer's path. Objectives. The gates are shut. leaving those that arrived late outside. Surely there are ways in which they can get in. Difficulty: neutral. Rewards: black small square 500 SC. Black small square 10 in. Black small square 10 dex. Black small square 10 AP. Black small square minor decrease in favor with Toru. Black small square moderate increase in favor with Akemi. Do you wish to accept the mission? Yes, no. You can only choose one of the two routes. XXXX. The entity paused, considering the options. Toru, I suggest you get down from my back. Stay here until it's clear. The entity commanded, stashing the device away before making a choice. Toru complied, and the others stood their ground, watching intently. Not wasting any more time, Kazuhiro dashed straight ahead. A putrid stench hung heavy in the air as bodies crumpled under the entity's swift and deadly strikes. With each step forward, claws became crimson with the vile blood of the undead. The grotesque spectacle unfolded, prompting Akemi to instinctively shield both eyes of hers and Toru's from the gruesome sight. The cacophony of slaughter drew the attention of the surrounding undead. Their mangled forms lurched forward, drawn by the sounds of violence. Yet despite his frenzied charge, none could breach the lethal storm surrounding the entity. Limbs and torsos were torn asunder, leaving nothing but mangled remains scattered on the unforgiving ground. A crimson tide of blood showered the entity. Each strike was carried out with ruthless efficiency, the relentless assault carving a path through the sea of decayed flesh. A final stomp on the head to the last corpse that was crawling, ending the slaughter. A loud whistle rang through the air of silence that had settled over the surroundings. Man, that was awesome, Kazu-san. A 10 out of 10 scene. Asahi's voice rang out behind Kazuhiro. Though some weren't as energetic as Asahi, Takashi trembled, unsettled by the overwhelming strength demonstrated. Toru remained impassive, uncaring of his surroundings, while Akemi frowned at the sight. We could always find an alternative, you know? Akemi murmured, a hint of disappointment in her voice as she glanced at Kazuhiro. Nonetheless, we can access the building now. Finding another entrance in a large school would have been time-consuming. Toru stated content with the efficiency of the chosen path. The group ventured into the school, Kazuhiro trailing behind, trying to rid himself of the remnants of the slain undead. As he ducked heavily to fit under the building's entrance, a sprawling hallway greeted him, vast and ominous in its silence. Halls once filled with the cacophony of children chatting and laughing now lay dead much like its current occupants. Inside, Asahi marveled at the school's grandeur. Man, that's some high-class school. I wish mine was half as big. Who knew you'd be a rich kid? Tordash. The school is divided into 6 buildings. A, B, C, the auditorium, the cafeteria, and the gymnasium. Will split up. Toru cut in, redirecting the conversation. Akemi raised her hand, wanting to accompany Toru, but before she could speak, Toru continued, and I'll be with Kazuhiro-san, leaving Akemi to sulk in disappointment. I'll go alone. I have a feeling survivors might be hiding in either the gymnasium or the cafeteria, Takashi declared. Well, I guess Akemi and I will head to the cafeteria. Come on, sis. Asahi sighed, dragging his sister away, regretting her missed chance to accompany Toru. Takashi also departed, aiming for the gymnasium in hopes of finding survivors. This left Toru and Kazuhiro standing in the eerie, blood-stained hallway of the school. Kazuhiro glanced toward Toru, awaiting for his response. We'll head to Building C. She used to teach classes around there. Toru's monotonous voice reverberated through the quiet hallway as he walked forward. Kazuhiro matched his pace as they moved ahead into the unsettling depths of the school. The tense silence lingered as Toru and Kazuhiro traversed the echoing halls where he had to have his back against the ceiling in some halls due to his height, nearing the interconnected buildings A and C, connected by a sealed pedestrian bridge where sunlight streamed through expansive glass windows. Only the sound of their footsteps shadowed their movement. I don't understand, Toru. Why didn't you join Takashi? There's a high chance your mother could be seeking shelter in either of the two areas. The entity questioned Toru's decision to head to a seemingly desolate building where no signs of survivors had been spotted during their venture. Toru maintained his silence, unwilling to divulge the reasoning behind his choice. There was a hint that he possessed information the entity lacked. Suddenly, Toru halted, prompting the entity to stop in tandem. Setting down his backpack, he glanced at the boy, slowly unzipping his bag. The gadget Kazuhiro carried around dinged. He slipped his abnormally large hand and retrieved the device. Upon reading the message, that prompted him to look ahead at the end of the hall. A sole person was walking towards them. XXXX. __ mission. S. __ of mother and son. Failed. Objectives. Help in search for Toru's mother. Alive. Difficulty. Hard. Failure. Black small square minus 1000 SC. Black small square a new ability. XXXX. Chapter 12. To Memory Lane. The haunting echo of footsteps reverberated through the desolate hallway. The woman who made her way towards them made for a gruesome image. Her once elegant attire now stained and torn by the macabre evidence of her fate. Kazuhiro stood unflinchingly as the lifeless figure drew closer. Internally, a simple realization lingered. I failed. His thoughts echoed with cold clarity, acknowledging the inability to prevent this tragic outcome. Suddenly, a thunderous bang shattered the eerie stillness. Kazuhiro glanced toward the boy, now sprawled on the ground, having been thrown back by the pistol's fierce recoil. The bullet found its mark, piercing the staggering woman with pinpoint accuracy. She crumpled, rendered motionless by the precise shot, and her haunting advance abruptly halted. In the deafening silence that followed, Toru steadily struggled to rise, clutching the pistol in hand. With determined steps, he walked a few paces before releasing the weapon, its clatter against the ground reverberating in the desolate halls. Kazuhiro stood in place, observing the boy's actions. Toru sank to his knees, his hand trembling as it caressed the lifeless face of the woman. I knew this would happen. His voice wavered with grief, a lone tear tracing a path down his youthful face. The only person who showed genuine care within my miserable life. Toru murmured softly, his thumb tracing the vacant spaces where her teeth once lay. His touch lingered on her bare gums, as a wave of memories flooded onto his mind, regretting the times of not spending enough time with her. Tokunoso, Hoshino's residence. A year before the outbreak. The door eased open with a creak, revealing a young woman with a soft smile adorning her face and a welcoming expression as she anticipated the arrival of her guests. You've finally arrived. Her voice carried a sense of warmth as she gently embraced the man in the suit. We almost missed our first flight, but luckily, we made it just in time. The man's smile widened as he reciprocated the hug, one arm embracing her while the other clutched his luggage. I can assure you that no time was wasted. Her chuckle was soothing as she withdrew from the embrace. Her attention shifted to the figure standing beside the man. This here is Adam, my son. The man's smile softened as he introduced his reserved son. The boy extended a hand in a formal gesture, his expression unreadable. The woman accepted his hand with a gentle smile. Not much of a talker, HM? I already like you. She ruffled his curly blonde hair. The man chuckled awkwardly. Yeah, he's been like this since his mother passed away. A hint of sorrow flashed across his face at the mention of his late wife. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Her expression softened in sympathy for the child who had endured such a loss. With a pitiful smile, she straightened up and gestured for them to enter. Please, do come in. Her invitation was warm and genuine. As they settled into the living room, sofas encircled a coffee table, the backdrop adorned by a welcoming fireplace. Oh, you didn't have to, Ayano. The man remarked as Ayano entered, bearing a tray of drinks and sweets for their visitors. My house, my rules, Harrison. Ayano replied, placing the tray on the table. Adam sat beside his father, his stoic expression unwavering. Harrison briefly glanced at his son, slightly irked by his demeanor. However, he composed himself and reached for a drink. Adam. Ayano's voice carried concern. You don't have to take any if you don't want to. She acknowledged his tragic loss, her tone gentle. Your room is upstairs, the third door to your right if you wish to rest. Her words prompted the boy to stand, indicating his disinterest in the offerings as he slowly made his way to the room, his luggage in hand. As the boy ascended the stairs, reaching halfway, he paused and eavesdropped on their conversation. I'm sorry you had to witness the boy in such a state. It's been tough on him, Harrison expressed, his tone apologetic. For such a traumatic event, no child should endure this. I understand his demeanor. I feel sorry for him. Ayano replied, her voice laced with genuine concern. Yeah, Ayano, I know you're a teacher at Shintoko. I've heard it's one of the most prestigious schools in the country. I'd like to enroll Adam there. Harrison remarked, Ayano pondered before nodding. I can assist with the recommendation process, but the entrance exams will be up to him. Although you've boasted a lot about his intelligence, then that wouldn't be much of an obstacle. She chuckled softly, attempting to lighten the atmosphere. That would be of great help. And what about your family? Are they okay with the remarriage? Harrison inquired, curious about her situation. They are accepting of the idea. I'm sure everything will be fine. She nodded, assuring him of her family's support. Adam overheard it all, gritting at the news. He had expected this but felt frustrated, as his father hadn't informed him or asked for his opinion regarding the matter. Entering his room, he left the luggage untouched, his face buried on the mattress, resenting the impending events. His fists clenched, involuntarily gripping the sheets, a physical manifestation of his inner turmoil. Tokanosu, Shintoko Academy. A week before the outbreak. This year's science fair winner is Kurosawa Haruki. The booming announcement reverberated across the school grounds and was met with an eruption of cheers and applause. As expected, I had a gut feeling that this would be rigged. Adam sighed inwardly. He suspected that something wasn't right about the results. Due to his exceptional academic performance last year at Shintoko, Adam had garnered attention. The board had even devised a special test tailored for his advanced intellect, which he aced effortlessly. However, this academic achievement also came with a price. His brilliance had stirred both admiration and envy amongst his peers. Among them was Haruki, a high-status peer with a very influential family background. During Adam's first year at the school, his remarkable scores had sparked widespread speculation about his genius. The school itself was known for its rigorous standards and challenging curriculum. Graduating from such a place was a testament to one's exceptional abilities. Regardless, as the results were announced, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Haruki's influence didn't directly rig the competition, but rather subtly maneuvered behind the scenes. It seemed that Haruki's connections or sway among certain faculty members had affected the evaluation criteria, altering the outcome just enough to tilt the balance in his favor. How does it feel to be in second place, Williams? Haruki smirked as he sidestepped towards him to rub it in. Adam remained silent, refusing to dignify Haruki's taunts with a response. His stoic silence seemed to unnerve Haruki, who clenched his fists in frustration. Adam, the familiar voice sliced through. It was a girl his age, who weaved through the crowd to reach him. It's her again, Adam mused, offering a mental sigh as Alice caught up to him. She stopped to take a breather beside him. Don't let that hinder you. What you have done last year was. She tried to comfort him over the loss, although unnecessary. Her sentence got cut off as Adam interjected. You're too loud, Ms. Marizato. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Compared to what I have accomplished, this is nothing. Adam's flat voice cut through the air, drawing mixed reactions from those around him. Some were indifferent, while others harbored a mix of disdain and expectation, anticipating a breakdown over the loss. Sighing softly, Alice responded against his interruptions. I hate that attitude of yours. By the way, you can call me by my first name, Alice. Since you know we're acquaintances, that's all it is between us. Just because we spoke from time to time doesn't mean we've become friends. Adam flatly rejected the notion of friendship. We are. You are just too shy to admit it. Alice pouted, her voice trailing off as she crossed her arms, acknowledging the futility of her attempts to bridge the gap between them. Well, if it isn't Alice, are you here to congratulate me on my victory? Haruki's snobbish tone accompanied his compliment towards the girl. Not planning to stay any longer, Adam decided to leave, ready to head home as the event concluded. Says the one who isn't in the top 10, let alone reach the top 5 where Adam resides. She scoffed at Haruki's behavior. She turned to check on Adam only to realize that he was already gone. I have a feeling that something bad will happen. Adam glanced briefly at Haruki. No doubt about it, that he might plot something against me. He thought, you did great, Adam. It was Ayano, his now stepmother, who approached to congratulate him. Thanks. Can we go now, Hoshino-san? Uncaring of his second placing, his voice is monotonous and flat. She masked her frown with a smile. All right. It's been a year since they moved and a year since Harrison and her got married. Yet Adam still preferred to call her name formally. What about your project? Are you going to leave it here? Adam, you forgot to take your project. Alice approached, now holding on to the boy's work. Oh my, what a nice friend you have. Ms. Hoshino chuckled behind her hand. Adam shied as he had no choice but to take the project with him as a kind gesture to his classmate who had brought it to them. It wasn't his concern, yet he didn't want to appear ungrateful. As they drove back home, silence enveloped the car, broken only by the occasional small talk from Ayano. Adam stared out the window, lost in thought, pondering the events of the day and the brewing tensions at school. Adam dear, it's okay not to win every time. What's important is participating and doing your best, Ayano offered, attempting to console him. Adam remained silent, unmoved by her words. Ayano sighed as she parked the car in the driveway, her attempt to comfort him seemingly in vain. Getting out of the car with the project in hand, Adam headed for the main entrance, soon meeting up with his father to his left, where the living room was. So? Harrison inquired, his eyes fixed on the newspaper. Lost. Adam slipped off his shoes, and his reply met with an exasperated sigh from his father. Harrison peered over the edge of his newspaper, eyebrows furrowed. Is that how it is? Are you content with being a loser? I'm sure my son isn't one. Adam's jaw clenched as he suppressed the urge to retort. I'll do better. He later made his way past his father towards his room. Each step felt heavier than the last, laden with the weight of expectation. Observing the scene, Ayano brows furrowed towards the man. He did his best, you know? Which was only received by the sound of newspaper being turned to the next page. As Adam retreated into his dimly lit room, the weight of expectations settled heavily upon his shoulders. His eyes drifted to the project, an unwanted reminder of the day's events. Closing the door behind him, he dropped the project into the trash can, the sound of its descent a hollow echo in the room. It was his way of rejecting the reminder of his defeat. He flopped onto the bed, his gaze fixed on the ceiling. The day's events replayed in his mind like a broken record, the taunts, the expectations, and the unspoken pressure that seemed to pervade every corner of his life. Soft footsteps outside his door broke the silence, and then a gentle knock followed. Ayano's voice seeped through. May I come in? He remained silent momentarily before giving a passive sure, the word uttered almost inaudibly. The door creaked open, and Ayano entered, her presence bringing a soft warmth to the room. She perched on the edge of the bed, a gesture that bridged the gap between them but left ample space for him to breathe. Eventful day, wasn't it? Ayano's voice attempted to lighten the tense atmosphere. Adam stayed silent, still staring blankly at the ceiling. It's okay not to win every battle, Adam. Life isn't about winning every time. Sometimes, the effort itself speaks volumes, she said, her tone gentle and reassuring. Haruki, he rigged the competition. Did you not notice? Adam cut in abruptly. She sheepishly grinned. I should have never doubted your smarts, and yes, I did notice it. Others did as well, but what can we do? My family does have influence, but against the Kurosawa clan, we are nothing. She sighed, acknowledging the unfair reality. Besides, that squirt can't match up to you in terms of intellect. He's even below 20 in the rankings. She laughed at her comment. Adam smirked at the remark about Haruki, surprised by the lightness of the conversation despite the circumstances. Ayano let out a soft gasp, witnessing a smile on his face for the first time since they arrived here a year ago. I never knew our moody Adam had that expression. She chuckled, trying to tease him, which prompted his signature frown to return. Ah, there's the Adam we know, Ayano teased. Sometimes, a small smile makes a huge difference, you know? Listen. Ayano's tone shifted, becoming more earnest. You're carrying a lot on your shoulders, and I know it's tough, but please remember, your worth isn't defined by any competition or what others say. You're talented in your own right, and that's what matters. Her words lingered in the air, and for a moment, a sense of comfort filled the room. I know you feel frustrated and perhaps misunderstood, but it's okay to let it out, to share what's on your mind, she continued softly, hoping to encourage him to open up. Adam stayed silent, but the slight relaxation in his posture hinted that her words had resonated with him. Silence reigned in the dimly lit room, broken only by a thin streak of sunlight piercing through the curtains. You know, her voice broke the stillness, soft and tinged with a hint of reminiscence. I used to dream of having a son, and growing up alongside my brothers, I suppose it influenced that desire in me. She chuckled. Pausing, she gazed out the window, lost in a moment of introspection, letting the memory weave its path through her thoughts. The gentle trickle of daylight seemed to echo her quiet musings. Toru, Hoshino Toru. A faint smile graced her lips as she savored the imagined melody of the name. It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? She turned, her eyes seeking a response that remained unspoken. But life had different plans, she continued, her voice now laced with a subtle melancholy. Instead, I was blessed with 3 incredible daughters and a loving husband. A sigh escaped her lips, the warmth of her smile masking the fleeting sadness that danced in her eyes. Yet, that happiness didn't last long, she whispered softly, her words hanging in the air, heavy with the weight of fleeting moments. It taught me something invaluable. Every moment spent with the ones you love is a treasure. You never truly realize how fragile it all is until it's gone. Her voice trailed off, a weight of bittersweet nostalgia settling in the room, a poignant reminder of the fleeting nature of life's most cherished moments. Whenever you're ready to talk, I'll be here, Ayano assured him before rising from the bed. I'll leave you to rest. Just remember, you're not alone in this. With a reassuring smile, she exited the room, but before she did, a quiet voice beckoned her attention. Thank you for sharing, he said, still in bed as he gazed upwards at the ceiling. These words, although few, triggered a smile within Ayano, who gently closed the door afterwards, allowing him the space he needed to navigate the depths of his thoughts. Shintoko Academy. Building C. Class 403. The day of the outbreak, 2 p.m. The sound of the bell going off triggered murmurs amongst the students all eager to leave the class. Don't forget to thoroughly revise chapters 4, 5, and 6 for the midterm exams. These chapters will carry significant weight, especially in the final exams. Adam, if you have a moment, I'd like to have a word with you, the teacher called out, prompting the boy to pause and retake his seat. As the classroom emptied, leaving only Adam and the teacher behind, the soft hum of distant conversations filled the air. Is something wrong? You seem lost in thought throughout the whole lecture. I didn't call you out mid-class since you are an excellent student, she asked, her concern evident in her voice. I don't feel well, Komuro-sensei. I have this feeling that I can't shake off, Adam confessed, his usual stoic expression revealing a hint of unease. Ms. Komuro softly smiled. It's rare to see Adam share his thoughts. If you aren't feeling so well, then you can go home and rest. Mizuki-san is not in today, so no one is operating the clinic for now. He's on an annual leave. HN. He nodded and stood up from his seat on his way to the school's faculty. As Adam left the classroom, Ms. Komuro sighed. If only my son was half as smart as him, she mused, leaning back in her chair. Adam maneuvered through the bustling corridors, the usual symphony of student chatter echoing against the walls, a constant backdrop to his thoughts. Despite the lively atmosphere, an unspoken sense of foreboding lingered, casting a shadow over his movements. Finally reaching the faculty room, his eyes sought out Ayano, who was engrossed in her work behind the desk. As he approached, the rhythm of her typing slowed, eventually coming to a halt as she noticed his presence. Adam, is there something on your mind? Ayano inquired, her voice soft but filled with concern, her gentle smile a soothing contrast to the tension in the air. I'm not feeling well. I wish to return home and rest for a while, Adam expressed, the weariness evident in his voice. I see. Then I'll drive us back, Ayano offered, before she started to pack up her belongings, concern etched across her features. It's fine, I'll go alone. Besides, you still have classes to teach, Adam responded, a faint smile gracing his lips. It's not safe to go alone. I will dash, Ayano began, attempting to persuade him, worry creasing her brow. No, I'll take a cab. It's quicker. Thank you for worrying about me, Adam insisted, already making his way toward the door. If that is so, then stay safe and rest well, Ayano called after him, watching as he exited the room before settling back into her seat to resume her work. As Adam exited the school building, now onto the streets of Tokanosu, he hailed a passing cab, stopping as he got inside the back seat. Where to, kid? The cab driver asked, glancing at the boy in the rearview mirror. Head straight for now. I'll lead you there, Adam said. The car ride was long and uneventful for Adam. The radio emitted nothing but static. The driver fiddled with the stations, managing to land on a couple that worked sporadically. Here will do. Thank you, Adam instructed the driver as he paid the fee and stepped out onto the sidewalk. A few blocks lay between him and home, and he preferred the short walk. Lost in thought, he pondered the unease that had enveloped him. I've only felt this foreboding once before. When my biological mom dash. Walking back home, Williams? A sneering voice sliced through Adam's reverie, drawing his attention to the owner of that voice. Haruki figures that removed a part of the uneasiness, but it's still there. Adam sighed mentally, his frustration mounting. What's the issue this time, Kurosawa? Adam's voice portrayed his fatigue, a hint of irritation underlying his words. You're quite the brain, Williams. Surely you don't need a hint. Haruki's smirk widened, his lackeys approaching from behind the air. In the distance, Adam spotted a black car, realizing Haruki and his friends were brought here. No, I believe I can handle this without any help, especially not from someone resorting to violence out of jealousy. I have no interest in Alice if that's what you're getting at. Adam's tone remained flat, unaffected by the escalating situation. Haruki's composure cracked, his sneer faltering before he regained control. His friends edged closer, exuding an air of threat. You think you're hot stuff, Williams, but brains won't save you when things turn sour. Haruki spat, his voice dripping with disdain. Adam sighed mentally, anticipating the unfolding situation, but something caught his attention. A figure walked a few feet behind Haruki. There was something off about that person. Just so you know, this won't be dash. Haruki's words were abruptly cut off as a hand landed firmly on his shoulder. The sudden touch made Haruki turn sharply, his voice filled with a mix of confusion and frustration. Hey, mister, what's the meaning of this? Do you know who dash? Blood. Before Haruki could finish his sentence, blood sprayed from his neck. A bizarre and terrifying sight unfolded as the figure took a substantial bite out of Haruki, shocking Adam and the rest of the group around the Kurosawa air, freezing momentarily in disbelief. Adam's mind raced, his instincts kicking in. Without a second thought, he spun around, sprinting in the opposite direction, his heart pounding against his chest. The chaos behind him was unsettling, sending shivers down his spine. He needed to find safety to reach the familiarity of his home. As he reached the front door, his fingers trembled while trying to unlock it. The familiar click of the lock finally gave way, and he rushed inside, slamming the door shut behind him. Gasping for breath, he bolted the door and leaned against it, his chest heaving with exertion. During midday, the sound of distant sirens pierced through the air, mingling with the faint shouts and hurried footsteps in the neighborhood. Adam, locking each entry point of the house, could sense the unsettling symphony of chaos outside. As he secured the last window, the eerie quiet within the house settled heavily. Each lock clicked shut, reinforcing the feeling of isolation within the walls. His steps echoed faintly as he headed for his room, the house now a makeshift sanctuary amidst the brewing storm. Collapsing onto his bed, Adam was engulfed in an uneasy silence, disturbed only by occasional crashes and sirens blaring in the distance. Despite the chaos lurking beyond the safety of his home, fatigue weighed heavily on him. The distant sounds of breaking glass and the urgent wails of sirens served as a disconcerting lullaby, weaving a surreal ambience around the unsettling stillness within his room. With a heavy heart and a weariness that permeated his being, Adam succumbed to an uneasy slumber, the threat outside echoing faintly in his dreams. Toru knelt by Ayano's side, tears streaming down his face as he caressed her lifeless corpse. Amidst the overwhelming grief, a distant sound pulled Toru back to the desolate reality. He glanced up, startled by the sudden noise. A surreal sight met his eyes. A door materialized out of thin air, its presence defying logic in this desolate place. Kazuhiro stood by the newly formed door, ready to depart. He has completed his mission. Kazuhiro-san, Toru's voice quivered. May I come with you? Chapter 13. Light After Dark. May I come with you? Toru's voice emerged hollow. His eyes looked empty, devoid of any emotion. Kazuhiro halted and slowly turned towards the boy. That's for you to decide, he stated, already partially through the door. Struggling, Toru rose to face the entity. I've got nothing anyways. His voice remained flat as he brushed away the remaining tears. Then, you are welcome to step through. Kazuhiro's words echoed through the desolate hallway. As Toru moved toward Kazuhiro, a sudden rush of footsteps echoed down the corridor. By the end of the hall, the Uchinaga twins emerged, racing towards the scene, their breaths heavy from the sprint. Toru blinked, surprised to see Asahi and Akemi panting in unison, What are you two doing here? Toru's voice maintained its cool composure. Asahi paused to inhale before continuing. Heard a shot, holy shit. Asahi struggled to catch his breath, his eyes wide in shock at the surreal sight unfolding before them. Is that? Both twins were frozen in astonishment, their gazes fixed on the enigmatic door that seemed plucked from a realm of fantasy, emanating a faint, ethereal glow at its edges. Kazuhiro observed the familiar arrivals silently, his inscrutable demeanor unchanged. My job here is done. I've completed my mission and satiated my curiosity about this world. Kazuhiro voiced the reason behind the door. Toru nodded. And I chose to go with him. Asahi and Akemi exchanged a brief glance, their determination unyielding. We're coming with you, they affirmed in unison. Acknowledging their decision with a subtle nod, Kazuhiro stepped aside, a silent invitation for the three to embark beyond the shimmering door. It's dark in here, Asahi exclaimed into the void. Yeah, you are right beside me, yet I can't see anything. Akemi's voice carried a hint of frustration. By the way, Kazuhiro-san, I see no market. Does that mean? Panic tinged, quickly infecting the rest, triggering doubts about the entity's intentions. No, the market's door should eventually reveal itself. Kazuhiro reassured them. A lingering sensation in his mind told him that something would happen in due time. The group remained on edge but slightly eased their guard, choosing to trust Kazuhiro's words. Asahi sighed, then remembered something. Oh yeah, that reminds me, Toru. Where? His words were abruptly halted by a firm smack to the face. You idiot! Can't you use that damn brain of yours to figure it out? Akemi's exasperation cut through the darkness and stopped Asahi from continuing his question, her hand blocking a part of her brother's face. Akemi, those are my eyes, Asahi said. My bad. Akemi swiftly readjusted her hand, realizing her mistake. She now covered Asahi's mouth, which elicited an eye roll from him, though unseen in the darkness. What about Komuro-san? What happened to him? Toru shifted the topic as he inquired. Haven't checked with the dude. Though he made it this far, I'm sure he's going to be fine. Akemi's voice trailed off, a hint of assurance in her tone. If you say so. Toru's concern was minimal towards Komuro, and was focused more on the unfolding situation. Soon, a faint glimmer of light shimmered in the distance, revealing a double door amidst the black void. The light brought back minimal color to its surroundings. Able to see again, Asahi was the first to voice out. Are we supposed to go through that? Laden with uncertainty, as he squinted toward the distant door, Kazuhiro observed the unfolding events with his usual impassive demeanor. He approached and the rest followed behind. What the group later encountered was an expansive hypermarket, its aisles extending endlessly into the horizon, stocked with everything one would expect to find in a modern establishment with ATMs, cashier counters, rows of neatly arranged carts, and a plethora of products lining the shelves. A sharp whistle cut through the pristine atmosphere. You weren't kidding, Kazu-san. Asahi's amazement was palpable as he took in the expansive sight. This is unbelievable. Akemi's astonishment mirrored the vastness of the hypermarket. While the twins were visibly amazed, Toru remained silent, absorbed in his observations of the surroundings. Meanwhile, Kazuhiro's attention was focused on the unseen pop-ups that appeared in front of him, hidden from the view of the rest of the group. XXXX. Loading. You've completed the identity fragment. You are to be promoted to supervisor. You've reached the supervisor role. Your daily task has been changed to suit your role. Rewards for achieving the role. Plus 15 on all unlocked attributes. Plus 15 class tree points. A new facility. Supervisor's office. A new feature, hidden cameras. Rank passive. 10% worker training boost. Plus 1 facility chest. XXXX. An office. He retrieved a device and navigated to the worker tab, noticing that there was now an arrow beside the office requirement. So, Kazu-san, are we getting one of these once we get hired? Asahi remarked, eyeing the device held by Kazuhiro. I might as well see where this leads me. You can stay here if you wish until I come back. He tapped on the arrow, which revealed a line highlighted in blue, guiding him toward the designated destination. Kazuhiro followed the luminous line that snaked its way through the aisles of the hypermarket. The rest of the group watched as Kazuhiro navigated, eventually disappearing into the endless rows of products and shelves. Asahi scratched his head, bemused. What do you think he's up to? Toru's gaze remained fixed on the line that Kazuhiro was following. Something that requires his attention, obviously. Akemi's curiosity was piqued. Should we follow him? Toru considered for a moment before shaking his head. No, let's just leave him be, at least for now. If you say so. Asahi chose to heed Toru's advice and pulled out a manga to read for the time being. Meanwhile, Kazuhiro continued to traverse the hypermarket, the glowing line leading him toward an uncertain destination. As he progressed deeper, the surroundings shifted subtly. The aisles seemed to bend and twist, creating an illusion of endless corridors that defied the known dimensions of the hypermarket. Yet, he pressed on, undeterred by the uncanny transformations that unfolded around him. With each step, the atmosphere grew more mysterious. Such hallways weren't seen during his first day in this domain. That sparked the question, what is the market to begin with? When he reached the designated office, the entrance to the office was unassuming, marked only by a simple yet elegant door adorned with a polished emblem. As he approached, the door slid open soundlessly, revealing a serene and grand interior. Ducking under the door frame to get inside, he was met with a large office space, fit for a being his size, and was impeccably organized, an oasis of calmness amid the cacophony beyond its walls. Soft lighting illuminated the room, casting a warm glow that differed from the harsh fluorescence of the hypermarket. The decor was minimalist yet sophisticated, with sleek furnishings and clean lines that exuded professionalism. A large desk occupied one side of the room, its surface immaculately tidy, adorned only by a few essential items. The walls were adorned with abstract artwork. A row of windows bathed the room with an unknown natural light source, albeit from a tranquil vantage point. Kazuhiro approached the desk with measured steps, Lati settling into the chair. The computer, a device seemingly small in contrast to his form, displayed the icons and tabs offered to multitask within the domain. The icons displayed on the computer screen mirrored the ones present on the handheld device, if not offering a slightly expanded array of applications and features. He navigated through various sections, exploring emails, settings, simple games, and the standard functionalities expected from a computer. However, his focus honed in on the worker's icon, and as he clicked on the application, a new tab was unveiled before him. He was greeted by a highly diverse interface, presenting multiple options. He could monitor, filter, and manage the workers within the hypermarket. Additionally, there was the feature to create worker documents. Despite the document being readily prepared, complete with a set of conditions, privileges, and rules of the market, he noted that it required credits to print them out. He meticulously examined the conditions outlined within the worker contracts, realizing the magnitude of responsibilities and privileges embedded within its clauses. He also took the time to read through the rules regarding about the place. As he perused the document, thoughts raced through his mind, contemplating the implications of imparting such duties to others within this intricate domain. Reading the privileges set, they'll receive what I have received, though with limitations, he mused internally, processing the contractual terms. They'll receive the device with the applications I possess, the ability to monitor their fellow workers, and access to various other functionalities. Moreover, they will also be granted linguistic abilities to communicate with otherworldly visitors, as well as an extra 10 points on all standard attributes as a starting booster. With a keen understanding of the terms and the inherent expectations, Kazuhiro recognized the key conditions, which were completing a week's worth of daily tasks assigned by him and undertaking at least 2 world missions of varying difficulties. Failure to meet these requirements would result in workers being demoted or to be fired. Considering the weight of these conditions, he decisively clicked on Confirm Purchase. A faint sound emanated from the corner of the office, where a sizable standing printer resided. Beep, as the printer sprang into action, producing the documents. Completing the printing process, the printer let out a final software before falling silent, leaving behind a neat stack of worker contracts. Kazuhiro rose from the leather chair and approached the stack of printed documents with a measured pace. With the task completed, Kazuhiro turned his attention to the group that had accompanied him. Carrying the documents in hand, he soon left the office. From the halls to the aisles, he made his way to counters only to be met with a familiar beeping noise that came from the entrance. Drawing closer to the entrance, where neatly lined cashier counters stood, Kazuhiro discerned the faint silhouettes in the distance. Among them stood the trio who had accompanied him. Beyond their grouping was a familiar visitor, their distinct presence acknowledged by him. Yet, beside that figure, an unknown newcomer stood. Aha-agah! piercing scream reverberated through. The owner of that scream was pointing frantically toward a distant approaching figure and screamed at the top of their lungs. Approaching the commotion, Kazuhiro drew closer, observing the unfolding scene with a measured curiosity. "Oh my, you must be the manager of this place. Nice costume," remarked an elderly lady. Intrigued, she approached Kazuhiro, her demeanor welcoming and amiable. "I didn't know a market opened near where we lived." "Oh, how lucky for us. We won't have to travel miles to shop for ingredients." "Oh ho ho," she expressed jovially. The dog that accompanied her dashed to HDF, emitting panicked and incoherent noises. Unbeknownst to the others, Kazuhiro comprehended the canine's every word. "Courage, behave. This is not how you should treat others. I'm so sorry for the trouble. I shouldn't have brought a dog here since I didn't see any signs about it." The lady apologized. "There are no rules regarding to whom you bring here and welcome. Please feel free to explore our wares. If you have any inquiries, don't hesitate to seek me out for assistance." The entity responded, bowing respectfully in greeting to the newcomer. "My, such mannerism. I'll look around and courage, remain here and do not cause any trouble." She instructed and later ventured off to explore the extensive aisles of the market. Woo! With a timid whimper, Courage complied with his owner's command, though visibly on edge in the unfamiliar surroundings and the tall entity. "Never in my life have I ever expected to see a pink dog," remarked Toru, his gaze fixated on Courage, who seemed uncomfortable under the scrutiny. "Same," echoed the twins simultaneously, nodding in agreement with Toru's observation. Amidst the conversation, a sudden thud interrupted their musings, prompting the trio to swiftly pivot toward the source of the noise. Their attention shifted to Kazuhiro, who had placed some papers on the cashier's counter. The entity stood poised near the counter, the papers arranged meticulously. The three approached, curiosity piqued by the contents of the documents that Kazuhiro had laid out. "Once you've reviewed the contents of the papers and are content with their conditions, you are required to sign on the line indicated here." Kazuhiro gestured toward the designated space on the documents. "Upon signing, you will be officially hired and granted the opportunity to work within this establishment." His words hung in the air, and the three approached the counter, eyes scanning the contents of the papers meticulously. Toru, Asahi, and Akemi leaned in, scrutinizing the terms and conditions outlined in the documents. A linguistic skill. At least that would ease the burden. Toru felt a sense of relief at the prospect. He had experienced the challenges of being self-taught Japanese and understanding the complexities involved. "That's cool, but attributes and classes. This is literally a video game," Asahi exclaimed, his excitement evident as he envisioned personal growth and measurable progress. Akemi's concern surfaced, her frustration evident. "I swear if my class happens to be support because I'm a girl, I'd snap," she asserted, her grip on the paper showcasing her growing agitation at the potential outcome. "The fact that our salaries are based on daily tasks sounds plausible," Toru remarked, acknowledging the practicality behind the compensation system. The twins nodded in agreement with Toru's assessment of the payment structure. Upon reviewing the documents and finding the terms satisfactory, Kazuhiro extended a pen, inviting them to sign the contracts and officially join and work within the hypermarket's domain. The three observed in astonishment as the contracts, now signed, disintegrated into ash, dissipating into the air with an ephemeral grace. In their wake, ethereal objects materialized, hovering before them in a display of spectral manifestation. One object took the form of a familiar device, its luminescent surface floating in front of each member. Its design appeared advanced, emitting a faint glow that hinted at its capabilities. Beside the device, a set of clothes was crafted, similar to what Kazuhiro had worn before advancing to a supervisor. The attire shimmered with a faint ethereal glow that later diminished after a few seconds. It was perfectly tailored to fit their unique forms. Courage, startled by the sudden apparition of the enigmatic items, dashed away in a panicked frenzy to alert his owner about the bewildering phenomenon. Though startled by Courage's reaction, remained undeterred. With a mixture of awe and anticipation, they extended their hands toward the hovering items, each grasping the floating devices and garments that beckoned to them. As they secured the objects, Kazuhiro took a few measured steps forward. His resonant voice echoed through the space. "Welcome to the market." Chapter 14. Tasks. "Welcome to the market," Kazuhiro's voice echoed, Asahi's face lit up with excitement. That's so cool. I want to check over my stats, but it's too early to do that. Where can we find the changing rooms? Akemi sighed as she then inquired. Kazuhiro pointed towards a nearby path. I'm not sure if changing rooms are present within this domain. However, there are restrooms available a few steps away from where we stand. He explained, his voice calm and helpful. Toru, hearing this, started walking in the direction Kazuhiro had indicated, with Asahi and Akemi following him. As they walked away, the twins couldn't help but glance around. Their eyes widened in awe of the seemingly endless rows of unique items that lined the shelves of the market. Meanwhile, Kazuhiro watched them go as he then turned his attention to his own task. He pulled out his device. He began to browse through its contents, a practiced motion of his fingers swiping through the various applications. XXXX. __homepage __. Main applications. Appraise. Attribute. Exclamation point. Class. Exclamation point. Door. Shop. Task. Exclamation point. Track. Worker. Exclamation point. Extract. Wallet. Inventory. Exclamation point. Skills. Exclamation point. XXXX. His gaze lingered on the applications indicated by the exclamation mark. He chose to pass time by clicking on the first application that requires his attention. XXXX. __attribute __. STR. 107. Exclamation point. STA. 109. Exclamation point. Con. 76. AGI. 107. Exclamation point. Dex. 55. Int. 66. Special attributes. Locked. AWR. Locked. STH. Locked. SPR. Locked. SSync locked. XXXX. HM. Reaching 100 triggers an alert. He carefully examined the numbers, noting the significant changes in his attributes. His strength, stamina, and agility had impressively surpassed the century mark. Curious about the implications of these milestones, he tapped on the exclamation mark beside the strength attribute. The device's screen momentarily displayed a loading icon before revealing a new page at the center. XXXX. Congratulations for reaching 100 points in Street Strength. Ability received. Ethereal Grasp activation skill. Description. When this ability is active, the user's claw attacks phases through the enemy defenses, ignoring armor or shields. Stamina cost. 800. Only for activation skills. Duration. 5 seconds. Cooldown. 5 minutes. An Ethereal Grasp scroll has been stored in your inventory. Only activation skills require training. XXXX. He pondered the strategic potential of Ethereal Grasp. The ability to bypass defenses could be a game changer in certain situations. He tapped on the remaining notifications, ready to discover what other enhancements he had achieved. XXXX. Congratulations for reaching 100 points in Station. Stamina. Ability received. Inexhaustible momentum, passive skill. Description. The ability to generate stamina during a conflict, although at a slower rate compared to resting. Stamina regeneration. 20 per minute, compared to 40 per minute while resting. Congratulations for reaching 100 points in AGI. Agility. Ability received. Glide stride, passive skill. Description. This ability enhances the user's stride length, allowing them to cover more ground with each step, thereby significantly increasing their movement speed. XXXX. Kazuhiro nodded thoughtfully, processing the new information. Inexhaustible momentum would ensure he could sustain longer durations in conflict, and glide stride would enhance his mobility, a crucial factor in navigating the vast worlds or better positioning in combat. The sound of the beep pulled Kazuhiro out of his contemplation. He looked ahead, as his attention drawn to the entrance. There was a moment of quiet tension, an unspoken question hanging between newcomer and Kazuhiro. Suddenly, the stranger broke the silence, not with a greeting, but with a muttered question to himself. Did I get drugged in this drink? His voice carried a mixture of irritation and confusion. He scrutinized the drink in his hands, as if expecting it to reveal some hidden truth about the surreal situation he found himself in. Kazuhiro took in the stranger's appearance. A teenage boy of average height and build, with medium short black hair topped with a noticeable ahogue. But what stood out the most were his eyes, lifeless and dull, like those of a fish. The boy wore an ordinary school unfired. It resembled to that of Asahi's. The teen, seemingly lost in his thoughts, continued to grumble under his breath. Must have been falsely advertised. Great, I got drugged underage. He muttered, a hint of resignation in his voice. Seizing the opportunity to engage, Kazuhiro stepped forward, his voice calm and inviting. Excuse me, do you happen to be an acquaintance of Asahi's by any chance? The question seemed to startle the boy, his previously dull eyes narrowing slightly as he looked up. Who? His confusion mixed with a lingering irritation from his earlier thoughts. The soft chime of another beep from the entrance drew both of their attention away from each other. This time, as the newcomer approached, a more peculiar sight greeted them. What greeted them was a cat. It had a distinctive appearance, with its yellow eyes providing a sharp contrast against its sleek coat of gray and white fur. The unordinary thing about it was, it walked with an almost human-like poise on its hind legs. The cat's reaction to seeing Kazuhiro's appearance made it slightly shiver, a cartoonish gulp that seemed to exaggerate its surprise and apprehension. Meanwhile, the teen, still grappling with his own disbelief, sighed heavily. I should seriously file a complaint after this drug wears off. Just hope I don't wake up in jail, he muttered to himself. In his mind, he rationalized that the effects he was experiencing must be due to the drink. Welcome. How may I assist you two? Is there anything specific you're looking to purchase? Kazuhiro asked, addressing both the bewildered teen and the peculiar cat. The teen scratched his head in visible frustration, his eyes scanning the vastness of the market. Sure. I'll just play along until whatever this is wears off, he said. Shaking his head due to mild rising headache, he wandered off to explore, seemingly deciding to embrace the bizarre experience for the time being. The cat, meanwhile, appeared to be in a more contemplative state. Its vision oscillated between Kazuhiro and the retreating figure of the teen. After a brief moment, as if struck by a sudden realization, the cat reached into its pocket. With surprising dexterity, the cat pulled out a notebook and pen from its pocket and began to sketch diligently. Kazuhiro watched the cat sketch, curious about what it might be drawing and what purpose had led it through the doors. Once the cat completed its sketch, it turned the notebook around. Kazuhiro leaned in to get a better look and saw a meticulously drawn image of a mousetrap. The details were precise, almost professional, showcasing the cat's unexpected artistic talent. A mousetrap? His thoughts were momentarily halted as the familiar voices drew in. Yo, Kazu-san. Is that one of Granny's weird pets? Asahi's voice cut through the air. Turning around, Kazuhiro saw Asahi, accompanied by Toru and Akemi. The three had changed into the unique garments which fit them remarkably well. I'm not entirely sure, Kazuhiro replied, gesturing towards the cat with the sketchbook. But it does seem to have a specific request. Asahi leaned in closer to get a better look at the cat, his eyes widening slightly in surprise. A cat that draws? Now that's something you don't see every day, he remarked, his tone filled with amusement. Toru, more reserved but no less interested, observed the scene with a thoughtful expression. Kazuhiro, we certainly have mousetraps, but something tells me your request might be a bit more specific than that, he mused aloud. Is there a particular type you're looking for? The cat only had to nod. Asahi chuckled. Never thought I'd be helping a cat shop for mousetraps. He looked at the cat with a newfound interest, wondering what other surprises this day might bring. Kazuhiro nodded. Let's see what we can find that matches this description. Akemi, while this isn't an official task, use your device to assist the cat to find the requested item, Kazuhiro suggested, turning his sight towards her. Asahi, who had been visibly excited about the prospect of an impromptu mission, couldn't hide his disappointment. Ah, man, I was looking forward to doing that. Oh well, good luck, sis, he said, trying to mask his bummed tone with a playful nudge. Thanks. She pulled out her device, her fingers hovering over the icons with a hint of uncertainty. Feeling a bit lost, she turned towards Kazuhiro, seeking guidance. How do you use this, Kazuhiro-san? Kazuhiro began to explain. On your main screen, you'll find an application named Track. This is your go-to tool for locating items in the market, he started. His voice is clear and instructive. Simply type what you're looking for into the search bar, and it'll guide you right aisle. He paused to see Akemi nod and that she was following along. He then continued. Now, if you're looking for something very specific, There's an advanced feature just under the search bar. Here, you can enter detailed descriptions or properties of the item. This way, the app narrows down the search without you having to manually appraise each item to check if it matches your needs. That sounds super efficient, she remarked, her fingers deftly navigating to the Track app and exploring its features. It's like having a personal guide through the place. Asahi, peering over Akemi's shoulder, whistled softly. That's pretty cool. It'll save us a ton of time if a customer requested something. She tapped a few times on the device's screen to locate the specific aisle for mousetraps. After a moment of processing, the device responded. Suddenly, a luminous blue line appeared on the floor, its faint glow creating a path through the market's aisles. Okay, this should lead us right to it. She looked at the cat. All right, kitty. Let's go find that special trap you're after, she said, her tone friendly. The cat, still visibly puzzled by the unfolding events, nevertheless chose to tag along with Akemi. Its eyes darted around curiously, taking in the myriad wonders of the market as they ventured through the aisles. The cat seemed to sense that, despite the strangeness of the situation, it was in good hands. Back where the group had initially gathered, Asahi, Toru, and Kazuhiro stood watching Akemi and the cat make their way. There was a moment of silence as they observed their departure, each lost in their own thoughts about this unusual turn of events. Asahi's voice broke the momentary silence. He retrieved the device to inspect it. By the way, Kazu-san, I was checking out my device earlier, and I noticed it only had 3 apps. I couldn't find. Toru interjected, top left of the screen. There's a small swirling icon, he said in his characteristic monotone voice. If you click on that, it shows that it's in the process of installing. Asahi turned his attention to his device. He located the swirling icon in the corner and tapped on it. True to Toru's word, a status bar appeared, indicating that additional applications were indeed downloading. Ah, right, thanks, Toru. Asahi replied, scratching the back of his head, followed by a sheepish smile. The fact that he didn't notice it at first was quite embarrassing. Don't mention it, Toru responded, his tone as even as ever. I'll head to my office to assign your daily tasks. Stay here and assist anyone who comes by, Kazuhiro instructed. With that, he turned and made his way towards his office. Upon reaching his office, he was greeted by the familiar sight of his neatly organized workspace. He settled into his chair. Turning on his computer, the screen flickered to life, illuminating the room with a soft glow. As the computer booted up, his mind was already cataloging the tasks ahead, preparing to distribute them among his team. However, before he could focus on assigning tasks to his team, he decided to review his own duties. He navigated through the user interface easily, moving the cursor to the task graphical icon on the screen. With a few clicks, he filtered the list to display only his tasks. The screen refreshed, revealing a neatly organized list of duties and objectives specifically assigned to him. XXXX __task __. Daily tasks. Observe your workers. Objectives. Overlook your staff as they work an hour each, ensuring nothing goes wrong in the process. 0/3. Use the feature hidden cameras to observe or oversee them in person. Rewards. 50 SC. Worker training. Objectives. Train your staff in the training room, either by guiding them on hitting the dummy or practicing with a live target, you as an example. 0/3. Rewards. 50 SC. Assign daily tasks. Objectives. Assign 4 daily tasks on each member of your team. 0/12. Rewards. 50 SC. Hold a brief team meeting. Objectives. Initiate a brief meeting in which you can converse with your team about what you've done and the goals set for tomorrow for each of you. Rewards. 50 SC. Monthly tasks. World missions. Objectives. Assign 2 world missions of varying difficulties to each member of your team. 0/6. Complete at least 2 world missions. Complete. Corpse Party complete. The Last Lullaby complete. 2 halves. Disclaimer. You have reached a monthly limit of world missions. You won't gain power-ups on the next world mission until it refreshes on the next month. Additional missions yield monetary compensation only. Rewards. 500 SC. Market budget. Objectives. Increase the market's profit/budget by 25,000 SC. A way to help maintain expenses of water, electricity, and functionalities of facilities. 0/25,000. Rewards. 5,000 SC. XXXX. After thoroughly reviewing his own set of tasks, he shifted his focus to the assignment of duties for his team. The tasks he chose are everyday chores, such as cleaning, assisting customers, restocking shelves, etc. With the daily tasks for his team meticulously assigned, he then turned his attention to one of his more significant monthly responsibilities, the world missions. He expertly navigated the interface, applying a filter that brought up a comprehensive list of worlds and their corresponding missions. The screen was filled with an array of options, each world offering its unique challenges and adventures. XXXX__world missions __. W1 and PVZ. Obviously this won't show up in the interface. And this will be the last time I showcase this. The list would be too long. Approaching storm. Objectives. Assist Crazy Dave with the planting process. Difficulty. Easy. W2. Undertale. Down Under. Objectives. Encounter 20 underground monsters. 0/20. A bonus. Pacifist route. Befriend all 20. Alternative. Genocide route. Defeat all 20. Difficulty. Hard. W3. Courage the Cowardly Dog Show. A bit of trolling. Objectives. When both Muriel and Courage left to go visit the store near them, Eustace got captured by underground trolls, holding him captive until they get what they want. Free old Eustace. Difficulty. Normal. W4. Death Note. A rising name. Puzzle mission. Objectives. The world is no longer safe with this supernatural murderer hiding among the crowd. Gather intel about them and assist in putting an end to their mass killings. Difficulty. Hard. W5. HOTD. A survivor's saint. Objectives. Rescue and shelter 50 survivors from this chaotic world. Difficulty. Neutral. W6. Oreguru. I have no enemies. Objectives. Assist around the city helping the locals with basic chores. 0/5. Difficulty. Easy. W7. Tom and Jerry. Cat Gang. Objectives. Butch and his crew are running the neighborhood, getting aggressive towards the residents. Patrols are struggling on catching them. Assist in the process and put an end to their aggression. Difficulty. Easy. And didn't display the rewards, it's already long as it is. XXXX. Kazuhiro carefully considered the skills and experiences of his team members as he reviewed the missions. He knew the importance of matching the right mission to the right individual. For Toru, Kazuhiro felt a gentle approach was necessary. Given Toru's recent experiences in a world marked by chaos and loss, a mission with a peaceful backdrop would be more fitting. Kazuhiro thought, assigning the task, I have no enemies was ideal for him. Turning his attention to the twins, Asahi and Akemi, Kazuhiro pondered whether to assign them missions together or separately. Their energetic and adventurous spirits were evident, and he knew they thrived on action. After a moment's consideration, he decided, I'll have them go together. He assigned them the A Bit of Trollangi mission, confident in their ability to handle the challenges it presented. While they're away, I'll stay behind and attend to the customers. Perhaps the hidden cameras feature allows me to observe from afar? Kazuhiro speculated. Turning his attention to both the computer and his handheld device, he noticed that the hidden cameras feature was accessible on both. Opting for the larger screen of the computer, he clicked on the feature, which promptly displayed the names of his team members. Curious, he selected Akemi's name, wanting to ensure she was adjusting well to her task. The screen shifted to a live feed of Akemi, who appeared to be in the midst of a conundrum. Kazuhiro watched intently, analyzing the situation. Is she aware that I'm observing her? Probably not. He pondered. The hidden cameras were designed to be discreet, allowing him to monitor his team's progress without interfering directly. After observing Akemi for a sufficient period, Kazuhiro felt a compelling need to understand the situation firsthand. The image of her running lingered in his mind, sparking curiosity. Standing up from his desk, he decided it was time to step out of his office and assess the situation directly. As he neared the area where they last stood, his attention was drawn to Toru, who was standing near the cashier counters. The sound of barking filled the air. Kazuhiro's gaze shifted just in time to see a chaotic chase unfolding before him. The twins, Asahi and Akemi, were in pursuit of a pink dog, which was in turn aggressively chasing the cat from earlier. Remarkably, the cat was deftly running while holding a small box in its paws, skillfully evading the dog's advances. With Akemi's urgent shout, "They went left!" her voice echoed through the quiet aisles as she and Asahi continued their pursuit. Without hesitation, they veered left, closely following the trail of the dog and the cat. "I got this!" Asahi's determined voice rang out as he pushed himself to the limit, his speed increasing with every stride. The gap between him and the pink dog began to close. In a burst of energy, Asahi made a daring leap forward, aiming to end the chase with a decisive move. However, his calculation was slightly off. Instead of catching the dog, he found himself tumbling forward, sliding across the floor face first. The chase didn't pause for a second, with Akemi taking the lead. She darted past Asahi, leaving her brother on the ground, her focus solely on the dog and the cat. Asahi, quickly recovering from his fall, pushed himself back to his feet and resumed the chase. Kazuhiro approached Toru, who observed the scene with a stoic expression. They were now accompanied by Muriel, who looked concerned at the ongoing chase. "Should we help, Kazuhiro-san?" Toru asked as he commented on the ridiculous scene. "I think they can handle it on their own." Chapter 15. First Day. Asahi spoke in between breaths from the effort. "We finally got them." He firmly held onto courage, while Akemi secured the cat, which was still clutching the small box in its paws. Muriel, who had been watching the whole scene with growing concern, approached Asahi with a look of gratitude and apology. "I'm so sorry for the trouble, young man. And as for you, Courage, I'm very disappointed," she said, addressing the dog with a stern yet gentle tone. "Woo!" Courage let out a low, woeful whine, as its ears drooped, a clear sign of its sadness over the situation. "It's fine. Anyways, you got your stuff, Granny? Leave em at the counter. I'll take care of it," he said, gently setting Courage down on the ground before heading towards the cashier counter. Akemi, mirroring her brother's actions, also guided the cat towards another counter to handle its purchases. Standing behind the counter, Akemi looked over the setup, her expression one of slight confusion. "So, how exactly does this work?" she asked, her voice revealing her uncertainty about operating the cashier system. Kazuhiro, overhearing her query, stepped over to offer guidance. "Each counter has 2 designated spaces," he began, pointing to the areas on the counter. "One side is for selling and the other is for purchases. If a customer wants to buy something, they should place their items on the purchase side. For multiple items, you'll need to scan each one individually. For a single item, just ask them to place it on the counter. After that, inform the customer to place their currency or any item to trade on the selling side, which is over here, unless they use one of the store's virtual card, in which they'd only have to hover it over the card reader," he explained, indicating the specific area. Akemi nodded, absorbing the information. "Got it." Asahi, who had been listening, gave a thumbs up, ready to assist the customer at his counter. Kazuhiro glanced around, realizing that Toru had quietly slipped away. He must have started on his tasks. Plus Asahi POV plus. Asahi couldn't help but notice the size of the bag Muriel was carrying. It was surprisingly large, yet she seemed to handle it with ease, showing no signs of exertion. Is she unusually strong for her age? Asahi wondered briefly but decided not to dwell on it. He picked up the first item from her bag to scan it. It was a small box, adorned with blue and green colors. Curious, he read the title before scanning, Scooby Snacks. The name didn't ring a bell. Muriel noticed Asahi's glance at the box and chuckled. "Oh yes, I had to pick up some snacks for Courage. This one seemed quite new. According to its contents at the back, it's a dog treat." Asahi smiled at her explanation, amused by the brand's name and the thought of dog treats called Scooby Snacks. He proceeded to scan the item, the beep of the scanner punctuating the moment. The screen in front of him came to life, displaying information about the product. He leaned in to read the description. XXXX. Item, Scooby Snacks. Scooby-Doo not visible. Description. A snack provides a temporary boost in morale and motivation, especially when facing fears or challenging tasks. Quantity, X1. Total 39.99 SC. And conversion rate is 1 SC to $2.26. XXXX. Huh. Will it work on humans or just dogs in general? He pondered to himself. Next, Asahi pulled out a few apples. He chose to scan them individually. XXXX. Item, Golden Apple. Minecraft. Discretion. This apple possesses unique properties, capable of healing wounds and rapidly restoring health. It also has temporary effects on the mental state, such as increased bravery, reduced fear, and enhanced calmness under stress. Quantity, x6. Total, 4,804,800 SC. XXXX. Asahi's eyes widened in astonishment at both the description and the staggering total price of the apples. He was momentarily stunned. He glanced at the old lady who was smiling. Let's hope she's loaded. Asahi mentally sighed. He turned his attention back to the task at hand, mentally preparing himself for whatever other surprises might be lurking inside. He reached for the next item. It looks strange. Some rare fruit from the Amazon forest, I guess. Asahi speculated the peculiar appearance of the fruit and began to scan it. With caution, Asahi placed the fruit under the scanner, half expecting another extraordinary description. The scanner beeped, and the screen displayed the details, confirming his suspicions. XXXX. Item. Bomb fruit. 1 piece. Description. This devil fruit grants its consumer a unique ability. The parts of their body can explode without causing self-harm. The user can create explosions at will by turning any body part into a bomb. However, consuming this fruit comes with a significant drawback, the loss of the ability to swim. Quantity, x1. Total, 547,333 SC. XXXX. Asahi remained momentarily speechless, the absurdity of the situation rendering him wordless. He stole a brief glance at Muriel, who seemed oblivious to the bizarre nature of her purchases. Oh, it looked new and quite exotic, Muriel said with a casual, almost nonchalant air. Might as well try it out, she added, her smile unwavering, as if she was discussing a regular piece of fruit rather than a damn fucking weapon. Asahi mentally braced himself for more surprises as he delved back into the bag. Still more to go, and I bet the next one won't be ordinary either, he thought, unable to shake off the eerie feeling of a fruit labeled with devil in its name. Reaching in again, he pulled out what appeared to be a perfectly ordinary cauliflower. Finally, something normal, he thought with a slight sense of relief. It looked just like any cauliflower one might find in a typical grocery store. No unusual colors, no strange aura emanating from it, just a simple vegetable. With a more relaxed demeanor, he placed the cauliflower under the scanner. The familiar beep sounded again, but this time he expected to see nothing out of the ordinary. The scanner worked its usual magic, reading the item's information. XXXX. Item. Orgasmic cauliflower. Food Wars. Description. True to its name, this cauliflower offers an intensely pleasurable taste experience. The flavor is so potent that it can melt one's clothes off, but the effect triggers only when prepared correctly. Quantity, x1. Total, 140 SC. XXXX. Muriel, noticing Asahi's silence and stillness, voiced her concern. Is there anything wrong, young man? She asked, her tone laced with genuine worry since Asahi stood still for a whole minute with a blank expression on his face. Asahi, still reeling from the absurdity of the items, quickly thought of a way to navigate the situation. He put on a polite yet slightly strained smile. Actually, upon checking, it seems that all the items you've selected have already been reserved by a high-status customer. He explained, improvising a solution. He continued, hoping to offer a viable alternative. So, how about I help you find similar ingredients that suit your needs? I'll assist you in scanning the items too, just to make sure none of them are reserved as well. Asahi's offer was genuine, albeit a cover to avoid any further surprises from Muriel's eclectic selection. Muriel, looking a bit puzzled but accepting the situation, nodded in agreement. That would be most kind of you, dear, she said, her voice carrying a tone of appreciation. Muriel then turned to Courage as she instructed with a firm yet gentle tone. Stay here, Courage, and don't cause any more trouble. Asahi then led Muriel back into the aisles, determined to help her find more conventional alternatives to her original choices. Plus POV end. Plus. Meanwhile with Akemi, having completed the scanning of the cat's items, watched as the system tallied up the total. The screen before her displayed the final amount due. All right, your total comes to this, Akemi announced, turning the screen slightly so the cat could see. She wasn't entirely sure how the cat would handle the payment, but if there was one thing she had learned in the market, it was to expect the unexpected. The cat pulled out a wallet from its pocket, but when it opened to pay, The wallet itself seemed to come alive and coughed on its own. A small puff of dust escaped from the it, followed by a lone moth fluttering out, adding the display of its emptiness. The scene was so absurd that it seemed straight out of a cartoon. The cat gave a sheepish smile to the scene. Meanwhile, Akemi watched the spectacle, her face betraying no surprise. With a deadpan expression, Akemi voiced the obvious conclusion. "So you're broke?" she asked, her tone flat. The cat nods, and the absurdity of the situation was not lost on her, and she replied with a hint of resignation. "Then there's nothing we can do." At her words, the cat sulked, and only for a moment did it receive an idea, judging by the sudden appearance of the light bulb above its head. Akemi couldn't help but stare as her brows furrowed at the phenomenon, her thoughts echoing the surreal nature of the moment. Where in the world of cartoon logic did you come from? To her further astonishment, the cat pulled out a hat from its pocket and strode out the door. Its actions suggested it had a plan, although what that plan entailed was anyone's guess. Akemi watched the retreating figure. She let out a mental sigh, still processing the series of events that had just unfolded, holding the small box that the cat had left behind. Uncertain, Akemi looked towards Kazuhiro. "What should I do with this?" she asked. She was unsure whether to leave it at the counter or make the effort to return it to its original place. Kazuhiro, observing the situation, provided a solution. "You can leave it here. It will return to its rightful place on its own," he assured her. His response was based on his observation of the bag Muriel had left on the counter, which had now vanished, presumably having been transported back to its original location within the market. Akemi nodded, relieved by his answer. She placed the box carefully on the counter. Only a moment had passed when the teenager who had entered the market earlier returned, his demeanor still marked by a certain dullness. This time, however, he approached Akemi with a purpose, carrying 2 large bags of chips in his arms. Akemi observed the teen with a discerning eye. "Oh, you seem new here. Maybe you came in when we were away," she said. The teenager offered a nonchalant shrug. His guard seemingly lowered a bit as he opened up. "Probably. I needed some time to clear my head. I'm slowly starting to accept that this place might actually be real." He glanced at the bags of chips in his hands, a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. "Found these on the way. Haven't seen them being produced in a while, probably 10 years or so." "Ah, nice." Then Akemi's casual yet inquisitive tone filled the space as she scanned the items. "So, which world are you from? What's the date there? Is it magical or not? Yada yada. Love to hear about it," she asked, her curiosity evident in her tone as she continued with the checkout process. Her questions seemed to catch the teen off guard, sparking a look of confusion. "World," he muttered, almost to himself. Akemi, noticing his bewildered reaction, decided to elaborate, hoping to clarify her question. "Yeah, like different realities. For example, me, my brother, and this cute kid we met came from a world overrun by zombies." "Blue. Those things?" she explained, briefly mimicking a zombie's stagger and groan for effect. The teen looked at her, still confused. The idea of multiple worlds, each with its own set of rules and realities, was a lot to take in, especially for someone who had just stepped in. "You're saying this place connects different worlds?" he asked, his voice a blend of skepticism and curiosity. "Exactly," Akemi replied with a nod. "The place is kind of a crossroads for all sorts of places. You never know who or what you'll run into here. Part of its charm." He lets out a small, resigned sigh, still processing the barrage of new information. Although he still harbored some doubts, he chose to give Akemi's explanation a certain degree of credence by glancing at the weird pink dog, which was uncomfortable against his lifeless gaze. The market's uniqueness was beginning to make a strange kind of sense to him. "I guess I can buy into that for now. So, how much do I owe for these?" he asked, shifting the conversation back to the transaction at hand. Akemi glanced at the register screen, which she showed him the displayed screen of the total amount due for his purchase. "That'll be 1.40 SC, she replied, as these were basic, no unusual properties to them. "How much is that in yen?" he inquired, trying to make sense of the unfamiliar term SC. Kazuhiro chose to answer. "There is an ATM right over there where you can convert your money," he pointed towards the machine. "It can convert your currency into store credits, either as a physical currency or as a virtual balance in your account." Still processing this new aspect of the market's operation, he walked over to the ATM, observing the simple yet intuitive interface. A sign next to a slot read "Place currency here," indicating where to insert the money for conversion. With only 500 yen in his possession, he hesitantly placed the banknote in the designated space. The ATM whirred to life, processing the conversion. The screen displayed the conversion rate and the equivalent amount in store credits he would receive. Then screen presented with a final choice, whether he wanted his converted store credits in cash or stored virtually. After a moment's consideration, he opted for the virtual option. The machine hummed briefly, processing his decision, and then dispensed a sleek, jade-green card from its slot. He examining the card closely. Its surface was more than just a solid color. It had a reflective quality that displayed his new balance. As he tilted the card against the light, the numbers 1.64 SC appeared, floating on its surface like a hologram. The amount was modest, but the technology behind the card was impressive. Akemi, seeing him return with the card, gave him a nod of acknowledgement. "All set?" she asked, ready to assist him further if needed. With the card in hand, Akemi chose to add as she turned the card reader to face him. "Hover it over the card reader," she instructed. After performing what was instructed, the scanner emitted a soft beep, recognizing the card. The transaction processed seamlessly, deducting the cost of his purchase from his account. The screen on the counter updated to show his new balance, a mere 0.24 SC remaining. Akemi confirmed with a smiled, "Done. Right, thanks," he said. Despite his gloomy appearance, he was thankful for the help provided. Just as the teenager was about to step away, his belongings in hand and ready to leave, a sudden sound halted his movement. The entrance of the market chimed as a new appearance came through the door, drawing the attention of those present. The teen's eyes widened in sheer disbelief at the sight, while Akemi's jaw dropped. Kazuhiro maintained his usual demeanor, though his attention was fully on the new arrival. Courage, on the other hand, stayed quiet this time instead of screaming. His eyes comically bulged at the unbelievable scene in front of him. The newcomer, seemingly unfazed by the impact of their appearances, looked around with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "Dadgum, didn't know this rundown old garage had a whole big store in 'em." The thing chuckled, clearly impressed by the expansive place. The newcomer then turned its gaze towards the others in front, a hint of intrigue in its eyes. "Y'all look strange. Never seen your kind before," it remarked, its eyes narrowing as it took in the sight of those around. Overwhelmed by the day's events and now this sudden appearance, the teen reached his limit. "I have to go and rest. My head hurts," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He turned and hurried out of the market, eager for a respite from the continuous surprises. The visitor, observing the teen's hasty exit, called out in a nonchalant tone, "Fine rest to you, weird stranger." The response was met with a grunt from the teen. Then, without missing a beat, the figure shifted its focus back to Kazuhiro and Akemi. Clang! The sound of a mop hitting the ground diverted attention momentarily to Toru, who was approaching the scene. He paused, taking in the sight of the visitor and the reactions of his colleagues. A sigh of resignation left him, as he then brought a hand up to his forehead in a facepalm gesture. "It's our first day, and with each visit, it gets even more abnormal than the last," he muttered to himself. His tone was of slight irritation. Kazuhiro picked up what Toru had said, while Akemi still has her jaw dropped, dazed at the situation. The sound of a thud echoed through the market as Asahi, now back with Muriel, had his hands let go of the heavy bag and hardly hit the floor. His expression mirrored that of his sister as he took in the scene before him. Muriel, seemingly unfazed by the extraordinary sight, commented cheerfully, "My, such nice costumes today." Her casual remark contrasted sharply with the astonishment of the others. Kazuhiro's attention was firmly on the new and unusual visitor. Standing before them was a rusty old-looking tow truck with uncanny features. "Shoo, I'm guessing y'all haven't heard of me," the tow truck said, his voice tinged with a light-hearted, friendly tone. "The name's Mater, like tomater, but without the ta."